Today we'll be wrapping up the regular season here in year number 3 of the San Francisco Giants franchise here on MLB The Show 24. As today we're going to find out where our landing spot for the postseason will be. We've got 6 more games left to go here in the regular season. And of course, now that we're at the end of the season, we're also going to talk about the minor league playoffs. The AAA team has just been eliminated, but the AA team will be going to the postseason. And we're also going to be talking about the stud and duds of the year. And as always, the Google form for that is in the description. So as it stands now in the National League, the Braves have cemented themselves as the #1 seed. They will be in first place no matter what. The 2 teams we are racing with are the Cubs and the Padres. We are tied with Chicago for the 2 seed, and we're 2 games ahead of the Padres for the division lead. Obviously, it's been well documented, this chase within the division with the Dodgers and Padres throughout the year. And obviously, we want to win this division a lot. But it doesn't really matter unless we get the 2 seed, considering how large of a difference there is between the 2nd seed and the 3rd seed. With us being tied with Chicago, whichever team has the better record over the next 6 games will get the spot. Of course, we're playing Milwaukee and Arizona, 2 solid teams, but they're both already out. The Cubs are playing the Reds and the Braves, who are 2 better teams, but the Reds are out, and the Braves are already the #1 seed. Now, Atlanta has finished as a high seed in the past and has lost in the NLDS, so I do think they're going to be extra focused during that series against Chicago. The Padres, meanwhile, have 3 against the Dodgers and then 3 against the Rockies. It would be really unfortunate if we have a better record than the Cubs, but San Diego catches up, passes us, and they get the 2 seed, so we've got to make sure that we're able to hold off them as well. The AL is obviously a lot worse than the NL, but it's a lot more competitive. In the National League, the 6 playoff teams have already clinched. It's just a matter of the order. Here in the AL, the only 2 teams in are the Twins and the Rangers. The other 4 spots are still up for grabs. As I mentioned earlier, we will be doing our stud and dud of the year voting, and I do feel like these last 6 games very well could decide who the finalists are, given that this team is still playing for a lot. We can still finish anywhere between the 2nd seed and the 6th seed, and while it's certainly more likely that mark will be between 2 and 4, there's a large range of outcomes for us here over the final 2 regular season series of the year, so because of that, we almost have to treat this like the start of the playoffs, especially if we do get the 2 seed in the first round bye. That way we won't be thrown off our rhythm after a couple games off. I'm excited to go over the minor league stuff as well, but we'll be doing that towards the end of the episode once we're done here with the regular season. So that starts with a 3-game set against the Brew Crew as the regular season for the minor leagues are now wrapped up. Again, I am saving all of that for the end of the episode. Right now, our focus is on the final 6 games of the year as the Padres just beat the Dodgers and the Cubs, like us, had a day off. So that brings us into Game 1 against Milwaukee, the defending World Series champs. We'll be simcasting these games, and if they're close, we'll be hopping in. Aaron Civale gets the start. He has struggled in September, and he already allows an early run off of an RBI double by Gleyber Torres. Parker Messick gets the start for Milwaukee. He's looking good so far, as is Civale, 1-1 through 3 innings. Base hit for Jonathan India, walk for Jung-Hoo Lee, big opportunity for Crawford, and he does not come up clutch. Our offense has had a great month of September, but they've still been a little bit inconsistent as Jhonkensy Noel goes deep, and the Brewers lead it 2-0, and they're continuing to stockpile some base runners, but we would get out of the inning. Kyler started this inning on 2nd, but the offense doesn't bring him in. Bottom 6, walk, single, and a 3-run shot for Stone Garrett. The Giants take their first lead of the game as it's 3-2, and I think we're going to keep Civale in for the 7th, and that proves to be a good decision as he gets through the inning. Bottom half, Jung-Hoo Lee gets on off of an error, but no further damage done. Into the 8th, we're going to roll with A.J. Minter here for this inning. He retires the side. Bottom 8, let's see if we can get some insurance. Garrett with a walk. We're going to replace Bailey with Blake Sabol. Garrett steals 2nd, and Sabol drives him in with a double. So we add to the lead. It's now 4-2. We'll see if we can bring in Sabol as Kyler gets a walk. Another pitching change for Milwaukee, and they get out of the inning. Into the 9th now. It's closing time for Camilo Doval. It's a 2-run lead. We're in a good spot here. But Jackson Chourio gets on off of an error, and he steals a base, and Dominguez gets a hit. And this just got interesting. but Jhonkensy Noel would be out, and we will hang on for the win 4-2. A game that we trailed for most of, but a 3-run homer by Garrett in the 6th, followed by Blake Sabol driving in a run off the bench, ultimately is enough for us to get the win, our 96th of the year. Strong day pitching-wise. Aaron Civale wasn't perfect. 7 innings, though, 2 earned runs. He was really solid, and the bullpen was able to close the door. As for the other teams we're looking out for, the Padres lose and the Cubs win. So there's no damage in terms of the 2 seed, but we add to our lead in the division. With us and the Cubs still being tied, I figured there's a chance we finish with the same record. So that poses the question of who has the tiebreaker. It turns out we do. We split back in June and July, and we took 2 of 3 in Wrigley earlier this month. So if the 2 teams have the same record, we will get the 2 seed. So we don't even have to finish better than them as long as we have the same record. But we've still got to keep winning these games as Mason Miller gets out of the jam in the top half of the 1st inning. He's allowing a lot of early base runners, but nobody's scoring so far. Luis Gil on the mound for Milwaukee. He lets up 2 walks, but we're not able to do any damage. Luis Arraez at second base with nobody out. Big opportunity for Milwaukee to do some damage. We're going to try to pick him off, and it backfires. He is off base, but it's because of the 2-run homer by Gleyber Torres, and Milwaukee takes the lead. But we're continuing to draw some walks as Murakami makes it 2-1, and Blake Sabol walks. Bases are loaded, so in other words, the inning is over. I think we've drawn 5 walks as a team so far. No shortage of base runners. Now we've got a couple of singles with 1 away. Lee bunts over the runners. I don't agree with that decision at all. If there's nobody out, maybe, but with 1 out and your best offensive player up, have him swing the bat. Some teams are playing chess while we're playing hungry hippos. So it still remains 2-1 after a horrible managerial decision, in my opinion. Mason Miller's overall having a good start, though. 6 innings, 2 earned. The problem is we're not getting much production out of the offense. We do tie the game, though. Tommy Rogers with a base hit. He'll steal second, and Jung-Hoo Lee grounds out. Into the 7th, Genesis Cabrera comes into the game out of the pen, and Milwaukee takes the lead with an RBI triple from Sal Frelick. We're going to take him out for Karinchak. He gets out of the inning, but it's now 3-2. We're going to get some offense back. We are unable to. Karinchak stays through the 8th. He retires to the side. And now bottom 8, I think we're going to hop in. Down by 1. The Brewers have a nasty back end of the bullpen with 2-time reliever of the year, Devin Williams, in to look to keep the lead for the Brew Crew. Hunter Bishop off the bench as a pinch hitter. Certainly an interesting choice considering he has 1 career hit. But he draws a walk, and he's one of the faster players on the team. Definitely somebody who we want on base. Big opportunity for Kyler Rodriguez. He's had a good game, 2 for 3. And this one splits the 3rd baseman and the shortstop for a base hit. Tying run is in scoring position. The potential go-ahead run is at first. Big opportunity for Tommy Rogers. And that was not your pitch, Tom. He check swings on a pitch low and inside. Now it's Jung-Hoo Lee up at the plate as he grounds it to short. What a play by Black. Throw to second is in time. And that diving play by Tyler Black may have just saved a run. I would have expected the runner from 3rd, Bishop, to score. So this game could be tied. Into the 9th now, and Yel De Los Santos comes out of the bullpen for the Giants. With 1 away, he faces off against Jason Dominguez, who's 0 for 3. Full count, draws a walk. Not the guy you want to walk. Dominguez has wheels. Of course, part of the Freddie Peralta deal at the deadline. Fly ball into left from Luis Arraez. It's caught by Bishop. And so De Los Santos gets through the inning. It's 3-2 going into the bottom of the 9th. We'll see at the middle of the order, 3-4-5 can make a comeback against closer Joel Payamps, who is in for the save. He's been inconsistent this year, 24-30 in save ops with an ERA at 4.41. But it looks like Milwaukee will trust him here to win them this game. We'll start things off with J.P. Crawford. He's 0 for so far in this game as he hits this one high and deep into center. Back at the track, at the wall, it is caught. That ball just barely does not have enough carry as it's the 1st out of the inning. Munetaka Murakami now up the middle, base hit. So with that, the tying run is now aboard for the Giants, and we'll see if their offense can come up clutch and bring him home. That'll send up the number 5 hitter, Stone Garrett. He's had a productive series so far against Milwaukee. as this one is going to be blooped into right, but it's going to drop for a hit. Murakami makes it to third. The tying run is 90 feet away from home. The winning run is on base. For the love of God, just do not put the ball on the ground. And it's Blake Sabol, Mr. 99 clutch rating himself. Lined into right for a base hit. This game is tied. So the Giants offense is able to fuel the comeback, and now it's time to go for the win with the winning run at second base. Another pitching change on the way for Milwaukee as Taylor Clark will come in and replace Payamps with the winning run at second. We'll see if San Francisco can hold them off. Jonathan India, base hit into left field. Garrett will stay at third. I really wanted to send him home, but he very clearly would have been out. And this means the bases are loaded. If this ball is hit reasonably hard by Peguero, we should be good. Up the middle, this could be two. To second, to first, it's going to be close. He's out! Double play, and Milwaukee keeps the game alive. With the bases loaded, the Giants find a way to mess up. Who would have thought? We do tie the game, so we can't be too upset with how the ninth inning went, but it really feels like we had an opportunity to win that. Into the 10th, De Los Santos still in the game, and he's looking good. Gleyber Torres ground out to short for out number 2, and now they're going to need a base hit from William Contreras if they want to bring in this runner. 2-2, into left, that one will drop. The runner looks to score. The throw from Garrett is offline. He was slow to get the ball out as well, so I would have hoped for a perfect throw on the money, and it definitely was not. RBI single for Contreras, and it's 4-3. Garrett Mitchell with a dribbler. De Los Santos fields it cleanly. Throw to first is in time. So that inning could have gone worse. Milwaukee gets one, but that's it. So now we have the tying run at second base. Kyler Rodriguez gets things started. He's 3 for 4 tonight, looking for another hit as it gets by him and Contreras. The runner makes it to third safe. That's Peguero. And just like that, one of our fastest players is 90 feet away from home with nobody out. There's no excuse not to score him. Rodriguez with a liner into left. It's caught. Peguero will look to score. The play at the plate, well, there is none. He's safe. Sacrifice fly off the bat of Kyler Rodriguez, and we are now tied at 4. Bases clear, one away for Tommy Rogers. We certainly would love to get him on base as the potential winning run, and that will not happen as he grounds out to short for the second out of the inning. That'll bring us to Jun-Hoo Lee, who's had a solid day, 1 for 3. He's ahead in the count, 2-1. And this one is skied into center. Doesn't have a ton of carry. And it will be caught as the left fielder tracks it down. That's Luis Arraez. So into the 11th. Both teams score 1 here in the 10th. And we're going to bring in Camilo Doval. It's not a save situation, but Doval gives us our best opportunity to win the game. ERA at 1.09 this year. He has been tremendous. Just 7 earned runs allowed. As Murakami is able to field it cleanly. Close play at first. It's in time. Good hustle by Jackson Chourio. The Giants were slow to make that play. Curtis Mead, the native of Australia, singles into left. Brewers are back ahead. It's now 5-4. Jason Dominguez up next. He puts it on the ground. Could be 2. India to Peguero. Over to first. Not in time. Good hustle by Dominguez. That'll keep the inning alive. Tyler Black is now up for the Brew Crew. Up the middle, gets by India for another hit. Camilo Doval has not looked overly sharp. He's allowed a number of base runners here, and we'll see if Milwaukee can add another. The one guy you do not want to face here is Luis Arraez. So lucky for us, it's Luis Arraez. Grounder to third. Crawford makes the play. Throw to first is in time, and the Giants get out of it. Again, only letting up the 1. So with that, the tying run is at second, and the winning run is at the plate. It's J.P. Crawford to start the bottom of the 11th with a swing and a drive in right center. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! Walk-off home run for J.P. Crawford, and the Giants win it in 11. His 26th of the year, going 408 feet. Triples Alley is usually undefeated, but it couldn't stop that baseball from going over the fence. San Francisco wins their 98th game of the season, continuing to pull away in the division and hopefully the race for the number 2 seed. When in doubt, when we need a clutch hit, J.P. Crawford is the man to do it. Crawford continuing his incredible season. He's now second on the team in WAR, only behind Jung-Hoo Lee, with one of his biggest plays thus far as a Giant. So we win this series. Hopefully we can get the sweep in the last game. But if nothing else, taking at least 2 against the Brewers is a good start to the episode. And there were chances that we could have lost this game here late. The Brewers offense scored some runs here in extras, but we were able to respond. We tied the game in the 9th, we tied it in the 10th, and we won it in the 11th with the homer by Crawford. Not a perfect game for the offense, but we got plenty of base runners, 13 hits, 6 walks, 5 different players drove in runs. Pretty solid start for Mason Miller, and the bullpen for the most part did their job. They let up some runs late, but overall I thought the bullpen was pretty solid. I've got some more good news. The Padres just lost to the Dodgers, and the magic number to win the division is now 1. If we win this last game against Milwaukee, it's ours. The Cubs also just lost to Cincinnati. Pretty good day for us. We add to the lead in the division. We add to the lead for the number 2 seed. This is a huge game, the 3rd and final of the series. If we win this game, we win the NL West, and we continue to get closer to locking up the number 2 seed. And because of the implications of this matchup, we're going to play this game the entire way through. At 97-61, the Giants look to continue their win streak as they go for their 8th consecutive win, with the lefty Kyle Harrison making his final start of the regular season. Here's a look at both lineups 1 to 9, mostly regulars for the Giants, as we take a look at Harrison, who I feel like has been the most consistent in this San Francisco rotation. The lowest ERA amongst our 5 starters at 2.79 and a 1.13 whip for the first-time All-Star, as he starts with Jose Caballero, who goes down on the slurve. Good pitch to open things up for the first out of the inning from Harrison. 2 away now as that will bring up Gleyber Torres. He's had a strong year despite the team's struggles, hitting .313 as he goes down on the circle change. 1-2-3 for Harrison, retires the side to get things started. As we go to the bottom of the first, take a look at another lefty with Aaron Ashby getting the start for Milwaukee. 3.9 ERA, 1.38 whip. He's been very adequate. He hasn't been bad, he hasn't been good, he's just been solid. Stone Garrett with 2 away. Hits this one high and deep in a left. It makes it near the track, but it's caught by Arise. That pitch was not even in the strike zone, yet it almost went over the fence. I don't know if I should be impressed or concerned that he chose to swing at that pitch. Into the second, Jackson Chourio up for Milwaukee. Count is even, 2-2 for Chourio, who's had a breakout season. Flies this one behind the dish. Bailey is under it, and he will make the play. No base runners so far for either teams. Perfect pitching across the board as the Kayakers in the Cove are hoping we get a ball over the fence. J.P. Crawford almost had one last night with the walk-off. No walk-off here as he lines out to right. 2 away now for Jonathan India. He finds himself ahead in the count, 3-1, and he will ultimately draw a walk, looking at the outside slider. And finally, we have our first base runner of the game for either team. Patrick Bailey sends this one into the gap. That one's going to get by Chourio in center. India on his high horse, rounding third, heads for home. He is safe. It's an RBI double for Patrick Bailey, and the Giants strike first as they lead it 1-0. Big swing for Pat Bailey to bring in the first run of the game. Kyler Rodriguez now up to 253, continuing his excellent stretch with a grounder to short. Throw is not in time. Still a good play there by Black. It might have saved a run by not getting by him, but it's still a base hit, and that'll bring up Zach DeZenzo. 2-1. Grounder gets by the diving glove of Jhonkensy Noel. Base hit into right. Run scores, so the Giants bring home the run after all. And San Francisco leads 2-0. Back to the top of the order. Tommy Rogers, grounder to second. Play is made. Good inning, though, for the Giants with a 2-out rally, featuring an RBI double for Bailey and an RBI single by DeZenzo. Into the third, Sal Frelick with 2 away, singles into center. Harrison unable to start this game with 9 up, 9 down, as Frelick gets Milwaukee their first base runner. Caballero swings and misses on the fastball. 3 scoreless for Kyle Harrison, who continues his outstanding performance thus far as we go to the bottom of the third with the Giants looking to add to the lead. Jung-Hoo Lee into the opposite field, base hit. There's only a few certainties in life. Death, taxes, and opposite field singles for Lee. One away for J.P. Crawford with a rocket into right. 107 off the bat for J.P. It's a single, and with that, the Giants now have 2 runners aboard for Munetaka Murakami. He's behind 1-2, swing and a miss on the inside sinker. Good pitch by Ashby for the second out of the frame. Now that'll bring up Jonathan India. Walked and scored in his first time up, and that one goes up the middle for a hit. Lee rounds third, heads home. The throw from Chourio is a good one, but it's not in time. San Francisco adds to the lead as it is now 3-0 off the single by India. Patrick Bailey was the one who drove him in last time, but Bailey goes down on strikes as he swings and misses at the sinker. Another good inning, though, for the Giants. Even though they leave 2 aboard, they add another run, and it's 3-0 going into the 4th. Luis Arraez goes down on the slurve. Another nice pitch for Kyle Harrison, who's not showing any signs of slowing down. Gleyber Torres, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. He goes down on the fastball. Looking to strike out this side, grounder to third. DeZenzo, throw is in time. Another 1-2-3 inning for Harrison, who still has only let up the 1 base runner so far, as it's 3-0 San Francisco. Again, a win clinches the National League West, as Kyler Rodriguez goes down looking. 2 away here for Tommy Rogers. The count is full, and Rogers draws a walk. That's not an easy pitch to take. I like seeing Tommy being disciplined there. Obviously, that's been the issue with him this year as he heads for second. Throw is just barely not in time from Contreras, who was a pretty good one. And now the fastest man in baseball is in scoring position. And with Jun-Hoo Lee up, that's easy money. Single into center. The throw from Chourio is a good one again, but he's not beating out the speedster Tommy Rogers. It's now 4-0 with the RBI by Lee. 3-1 here for Garrett. Lee goes for second as it's up the middle. Play is made in time, but the Giants add to their lead as it is now 4-0. Really productive day here from the offense, and that brings us into the 5th. Kyle Harrison, of course, still pitching a gem. He's only allowed a couple base runners so far, but he does let up a walk here to Joey Weimer. The Brewers open up the frame with a base runner. Jackson Chourio gets that one by the diving glove of Murakami. And all of a sudden, Milwaukee might be in business. With 2 on and nobody out, this might be their best shot. Taylor Walls gets plunked and the bases are loaded, still with nobody out. That'll bring up Jhonkensy Noel. Goes down looking on the fastball. Let's see if we can feel the other side of this bases loaded dilemma. Sal Frelick grounds it over to first. We're looking for 2, and the throw is not in time. Sal Frelick with the hustle to first, and because of that, the run scores, and it's 4-1. That'll bring up Jose Caballero, who is behind in the count, 1-2 with runners on the corners, and he crushes it into left center field. This game is tied at 4 with a 3-run shot by Jose Caballero. Harrison was looking to get him on the low outside circle change, and he completely mislocated it. Just the 4th home run of the year for Caballero, but we've got ourselves a ball game. You see, guys? That's how it's done when the bases are loaded. That'll bring up Luis Arraez. Harrison's still in the game as it's flown into foul territory. Garrett chases after it. He makes the play. Overall, not a particularly good inning, though. A 3-run shot by Caballero headlines what was a big offensive frame for the Brew Crew. And we're tied at 4 with Sean Reed Foley coming out of the bullpen here for Milwaukee. 3.84 ERA in just over 70 innings this year as J.P. Crawford goes down looking on the low fastball. Jonathan India now with 2 away, has the count evened up at 2-2, and he rips this one up the middle, and that will go for a base hit. Just got to continue to stack base runners. We've done a really good job of that throughout this game. No shortage of base hits, no shortage of clutch hitting for the most part as well. Patrick Bailey puts it on the ground. Noel fields it cleanly, makes the play at first. And that brings us into the 6th, where we will see a pitching change for San Francisco. It's Yariel Rodriguez who comes into the game. And it's unfortunate for Harrison because he played so well through the first 4 innings, only letting up a couple base runners, but it got away from him in the 5th, and we felt like we had to take him out, ending his regular season. The next time we see Harrison will hopefully be in a postseason game as he gets the strikeout here on Joey Weimer. And Rodriguez retires the side as that brings us into the bottom of the 6th, with the 8-9-1 hitters due up in the order. That starts with Kyler Rodriguez, who lifts this one in the gap. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! Solo home run for Kyler Rodriguez. That is number 9 on the year for K-Rod. And the Giants are back ahead 5-4. I've talked about it with Kyler Rodriguez, but his growth this year has been so impressive. He struggled for a large chunk of the season, and we kept him in the lineup, and that has proven to be a great decision. He's gotten so much better. Rogers grounder to short. Throw to first is in time. Or is it? We might as well challenge it here because we're probably not going to have another challengeable play the rest of the game. So we might as well try to get our speedy base runner aboard. Let's take a look at this play again. Taylor Walls was slow with the throw, and that ultimately is the reason why Tommy is safe, and the umpires would overturn the call. So now Tommy Rogers is aboard as this ball gets by Contreras. Rogers was already going for second anyway. Thought about maybe going for third there, but we knew we couldn't get too carried away as Jun-Hoo Lee goes down on the circle change. Not a particularly good decision to chase that ball. And now there's 2 away for Stone Garrett. He's 0 for 3, but he's once again ahead in the count, 3-1. And he draws a walk, looking at the low fastball. Another base runner here for San Francisco. 2 on, 2 out for one of the most clutch players in the game, J.P. Crawford, who also draws a walk. And the bases are now loaded. What an opportunity for Munetaka Murakami with the bases juiced. He's behind in the count, though, 1-2. Ooh, that's a tough pitch to lay off, especially with 2 strikes. Might have hit the corner at the zone, but it's called ball 2. Following pitch. Outside, count is full. And now Sean Reed-Foley is in danger of walking a 3rd consecutive batter, which would score a run. Murakami launches it into left! But it's foul. The one time the ball gets over the fence with the bases loaded, he swung a little bit too late. So with that, it is a full count once again. And this time he times it up right! Crushes it into straightaway center. That ball is long gone. A grand slam for Munetaka Murakami. Home run number 30 on the year for the rookie hailing from Japan. Oh my goodness, we did something with the bases loaded, and not just anything, a grand salami. That, my friends, is how it's done. And if we didn't challenge the call with Tommy Rogers, the inning would have been over, and it would have still been 5-4. This at-bat never would have happened. So great coaching and great situational at-bats from Garrett and Crawford to reach base with the walks, and then Murakami to launch that one into the seats, working a really good at-bat himself. Sean Reed-Foley gets yanked. He'll be replaced by Dominic Leone. 4.75 ERA on the year as he faces off against Jonathan India, who he himself has a full count. He's reached base on all 3 plate appearances today, looking to do so again as it's hit sharply into left. But it is caught, and that'll wrap up what was a very successful inning. Solo homer by Kyler Rodriguez, followed by a grand slam from Munetaka Murakami. And the Giants lead this game comfortably as long as they don't blow this lead. The division is theirs for the first time in 5 years. Into the 7th now. Milwaukee's going to make this a fight. Jackson Chourio launches it into left field. That one is gone, and it is now 9-5. His 26th of the year. Again, an incredible season for the 22-year-old phenom who in his 3rd big league season has really broken out and become a star. Taylor Walls strikes out on the high fastball. Not his greatest decision to chase the high heat for out number 1. Jhonkensy Noel is now up. He's 0 for 2 so far today, behind 1-2, and he goes down in the splitter. Good job here by Yariel Rodriguez rebounding after allowing the homer as we go bottom 7. With 2 away, Zach DeZenzo hits it up the middle for a hit, and the offense continues to churn out base runners. San Francisco has hit the ball at a really high level today. They've drawn walks at a really high level, and they've hit really well with guys on base. 1-2 for Tommy Rogers. He goes down on the slider. That wraps up this 7th. So no change here in the bottom half of the inning. It is still a 4-run game, although the hits deficit sits at 8. Milwaukee only has 4 hits with their 5 runs as Jose Caballero goes down looking. Rodriguez, as you can see, still in the game. This is a guy who can eat innings, and he's doing exactly that as Gleyber Torres goes down on the slider. 3 strong innings from Rodriguez. He only let up the 1 run. Overall, really solid outing from him as we go bottom 8. Holby Milner is in for Milwaukee, 3.46 ERA for the lefties. Had a pretty good season in 91 innings. As he will rip this one up the middle. That goes for a single into center. A little lefty-on-lefty crime there as the Giants look to add to their lead. You can never be so sure, up by 4. As Murakami swings at a pitch well in the dirt. That brings us into the 9th. San Francisco looking to slam the door. James Karinchak comes into the game out of the bullpen. We'll see if he can be the one to clinch the division for the Giants. As William Contreras goes down on the fastball, there's one. Joey Weimer now up for Milwaukee, 2-2. That one is hit into right. That goes for a base hit. A one-out runner aboard here for Milwaukee. But we could also look at the possibility of a double play. This could be the final at bat of the game. Jackson Chourio swinging a miss on the fastball, and with 2 away, we're actually going to make a pitching change. I feel like that Camilo Doval is the guy who deserves to close this game out with an opportunity to clinch the division. I didn't originally put him in because it wasn't a save situation. We were up by 4, but with letting the runner aboard, I think it's appropriate that we look to get him this final out. 44-49 in save ops with an ERA at 1.07. His batter is Taylor Walls, who fouls this one back, and the count is now 2-2. Pretty easy final hitter for Doval to work with. Those hitting ratings not too good on the shortstop Walls, as he swings and misses at a pitch well inside the dirt. Sable's throw to first is in time, and that'll do it! The San Francisco Giants have clinched the National League West for the first time since 2021. 5 years in the making, the Giants clinched a playoff spot in the last episode. We clinched the division today. That means we can be no lower than the 3 seed. Obviously, the goal is that 2nd spot, but in order to get to 2, we had to get to 3, and that's exactly what we do here. Able to hold off the Padres and the Dodgers, which is really impressive considering how well San Diego has played after the All-Star break, and obviously how good the Dodgers are with Ohtani, Betts, and Trout. Overall, really solid game. It was the offense who led the way in this one. 9 runs, 13 hits, 4 walks. Really productive day across the board. We got plenty of runs early, and then the 6th is where we got our power surge with the homer by Rodriguez and the grand slam from Murakami. Kyle Harrison had a really good start. It's just that the 5th inning was a complete disaster. The bullpen, though, was able to shut the door, clinching us our 98th win of the season, and more importantly, the National League West. So now the only team we've got to focus on is the Cubs, and I've got some good news. They lost again to Cincinnati. We are ahead by 2 games over Chicago, and that's not to mention we had the head-to-head tiebreaker, so that means we only have to win 1 more game, and the 2 seed is ours. Major shout-out to Cincinnati for doing us a solid, and now let's see if we can win this game against Arizona and cement our spot as the 2 seed in the National League and clinch a first-round bye. Robbie Ray getting the start against his former team as Carroll's already at second base, and Geraldo Perdomo brings him in. It's 1-0. But then, Stone Garrett, 2-run shot. Murakami, solo shot. It's 3-0. Crawford gets on with a walk, but we're unable to drive him in. Pretty good start for the offense, but I can't say the same for Robbie Ray. He lets up a 2-run shot to Emmanuel Rivera, and this game is tied at 3. Plenty of offense early as Rogers is aboard. Lee draws a walk. Garrett draws a walk. The bases are loaded, and we're not going to get another grand slam for Murakami. I guess that was a one-time thing. Bottom 3, a double for Sable. We don't do any further damage. Bottom 4, single for Lee, walk for Garrett, walk for Murakami. Bases loaded again. Crawford pops up. Got to give Robbie Ray some credit. He started slow, but has definitely done better. And the same can be said for Zach Gallen. As we load the bases again, there's nobody out. There is zero excuse not to score. We get the grand slam. Tommy Rogers takes him deep. It's 7-3. Lee with a triple. Garrett brings him in. Walk for Murakami. Can we add another run? We've batted around, and we don't, but we do score 5 in the 5th. I cannot believe we've got back-to-back games with a grand slam. That is uncharacteristic for our ball club. Could it be that we're finally breaking the curse, or were we just lucky? I mean, with how many times we've gotten the bases loaded in this game specifically, we were kind of due, right? Arizona looking to load the bases, but they go for the 1-out sack bunt. I don't know why they would do that as Ray gets out of it. We're going to get some pinch hitters in the game. I want to see some of these young guys play a lot over the last couple of the games. As Castellanos homers, it's 8-4. As you'll notice, we kept Robbie Ray in through 8. And the reason for that is because I wanted to get him up to 200 innings. If the game really got away from him, I wouldn't have done that. But I figured, why not get him the big mark? That'll send us into the 9th. We're going to bring in Genesis Cabrera, and we're going to hop into the game here. Let's clinch the number 2 seed for good. Gabriel Moreno flies it into left. Garrett chases at the track, at the wall, makes the play. Not an easy catch, but he hangs on for out number 1. Emmanuel Rivera, the 1-2. Grounder over to second. Play is made by DeZenzo. Throw to first is in time. And with that, we are 1 out away from getting the 2 seed in the National League. It comes down to Jorge Barosa. 2-2. Swing and a miss, and that'll do it. The number 2 seed in the 2026 NL playoffs belongs to the San Francisco Giants. The win streak continues for San Francisco. All this team does is win, apparently. We are now 99-61, and the Cubs cannot catch up. We have cemented our spot as the 2 seed. Coming into the episode, we were the 2 seed going into the day, so I figured there was a decent chance we would get it, but I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. I didn't think we would have 2 games of breathing room, but we got some help from Cincinnati in the series with the Cubs, and our team so far today is 4-0. Rough day in the office for Zach Gallen. In 4 1/3 innings, he allowed 15 base runners. We drew a lot of walks in this game, 8 to go along with 12 hits. We loaded the bases 3 separate times, one of which we capitalized with the grand slam by Rogers. Garrett and Murakami both went deep as well. So now that we have locked up our seeding, these last 2 games are not overly important. But we're still going to start our regular players because, ask Atlanta, those days off can really hurt you leading into the playoffs. So we're going to start our regular pitchers, start our regular position players, but we're going to sub those guys out early. We're going to see a lot of Fernando Molina, for instance, as we win the first game against Arizona, our 100th of the year, and we did it with a walk-off single in the bottom of the 9th from Kyler Rodriguez. Ultimately, this would push the win streak up to 9 or 10. I've lost count at this point. This was the Fernando Molina game. We only kept Logan Webb in for 4 innings. He didn't really do very well during those 4. Molina pitched the last 5. He did a pretty good job. And since he threw 5 innings, he didn't have enough energy to throw in this second game, which we lost 5-0. Brandon Pfaadt throws 8 scoreless. Aaron Savale was okay, 4 innings allowing 2 earned. The bullpen was not particularly all that great. So we finished 162. But before we talk about end-of-the-year stuff, let's go over the minor league playoffs real quick. The Double-A team has made it. We'll be facing off against the Altoona Curve in the first round, and if we win, we'll go to a best-of-5 championship round. So let's see how this goes. We've got a pretty good group of young pitchers and an intriguing group of position players as we win the first game 4-2. Really good start from Noah Talley, our 5th-round pick. A couple years ago, he ended up going 8 innings, allowing the 2 runs. Big day for Elijah Warren, the former 2nd-rounder back in Season 1 out of Virginia Tech. As that brings us into Game 2, Carson Seymour on the mound. And once again, we get the win in this one, beating Altoona 6-5. A close game here, but we came back in the bottom of the 8th, scoring 3. And it looks like it was Elijah Warren with an RBI, a 3-run triple, to be specific, with the bases loaded. Seymour with a decent start, bullpen shut the door. We've just got to win one of these last 3 games. Unfortunately, that won't come in Game 3. Altoona scores 4 in the bottom of the 9th as the bullpen completely blows it. J.J. Green did not have a great start, but Luinder Avila out of the bullpen won us the game until the bullpen lost it. And again in Game 4, walk-off win for Altoona. Rodney Bravo performed really well, the bullpen did not. That brings us to a winner-take-all Game 5 for a spot in the Double-A Championship Series. The home team is 4-0 so far. We're looking to keep the trend going, and we lose 7-1. The offense, I feel like, has been really good for most of the series, but today, not so much. Only 7 hits, 1 run off of the homer by Luis Frias. Not a great start from Hayden Birdsong, and, well, the bullpen's performance didn't matter. But the bullpen is the reason why I feel like we lost. The offense was good. We only had 1 homer in those 5 games, though. That one from Frias. I feel like the starting pitching was good, though, and it wasn't the entire bullpen. It was just a few guys. Dabovich and Vernon had ERAs starting with the number 40. Christian Montes de Oca had an ERA at 11. Those guys blew it, and ultimately Altoona will play against Binghamton in the championship series. As for the big league club, 162 and the number 2 seed as we take a look at the final standings. Atlanta with 105, the best record in baseball. They get the number 1 seed in the National League. The Cubs end up winning the Central at 98 and 64. They will be the 3 seed, while we, of course, are the 2 seed, one of just 2 teams across the MLB with 100 wins. San Diego will be 4, the Dodgers will be 5, and the Phillies will be 6. So that means in the NLDS, we will play against either the Cubs or the Phillies. We will avoid both of our division rivals, which honestly, I think is probably a good thing. I did not want to see either one of those teams. I like the Dodgers' chances to not only beat San Diego, but also beat Atlanta in the NLDS. I think the Dodgers could really surprise some people. Toronto wins the East, Minnesota wins the Central, the Rangers win the West. As for your wild cards, we've got Houston, Seattle, and Tampa Bay, making it just a game over the Yankees and a few games over a couple other teams. Let's go through our team's final stats for the year. Offensively, Jung-Hoo Lee was obviously brilliant, and then everybody else was really solid. We didn't really have any other superstars per se. Tommy Rogers ended up finishing second in OPS at 862. That goes to show how good he was this year, particularly down the stretch after the All-Star break over the final couple months. And then in terms of WAR, 7.7 for Lee. That's top 5 in all of baseball. J.P. Crawford at 5.5, while Murakami, India, and Sable all finish with at least 4. Garrett at 3.6, not too far behind. As for the pitching, incredible season for our starters, and none of our starters missed a single game. It says Kevin Gossman started 12 games, but keep in mind, that was with Toronto. We never had our starters miss a single game this year. We only had 5 different players start for us. That may never happen again with modern baseball and how fragile these pitchers are. None of our 5 guys missed a start once, and they were all fantastic. Not only were they consistent, but they were really, really good. Aaron Savale, 5 WAR, 4.2 for Webb, 3.7 for Harrison and Ray. The bullpen was up and down. Camilo Duvall was brilliant. Everybody else was inconsistent, to put it nicely. And so with that, we'll go through our stud and dud of the year candidates, and we'll start with our first stud of the year candidate, and it's J.P. Crawford. And this may seem like a weird choice because he not only was a candidate last year, but he won first place. But I feel like he deserves it again. 26 homers, 83 RBIs, 277 average, 854 OPS, WAR at 5.5, played better defense than he was last year. He was our second best position player, and in terms of shortstops, he was roughly between 7th and 9th in every major hitting category. He was one of the 10 best players at the shortstop position, and when you're a top 10 shortstop who's about to be a free agent, you're usually asking for $200 million. J.P. Crawford put up the production of a $200 million player this year. He's probably not going to ask for that kind of money because, well, his ratings don't reflect that. But by him being a stud of the year candidate, his ratings will deservedly go up. I figured I had to give it to a pitcher for the second spot. I thought about Kyle Harrison, but ultimately I decided not to. We had big expectations for him coming into the series, and even though his development has been slow, he obviously took the big jump this year. I'm going to give it not to Robbie Ray either. Robbie Ray, for a number 5 starter, was really good. But instead, I will choose Aaron Savale. And it might seem like a weird choice because he's a 2-time All-Star. Statistically, you could argue he had his worst season of this series. But for a guy who signed a 2-year, $16 million contract, who the Diamondbacks chose Blake Snell over, I feel like he deserves to be the second candidate. With a 5 WAR, he led the National League in pitching WAR and was second in all of baseball behind Freddie Peralta. He's not supposed to be the second most valuable pitcher in baseball, which is why I'm giving him the spot. For our third and final nominee, I thought about a couple of relievers with De Los Santos. I thought about Camilo Duvall. I thought about Jonathan India, but I figured it had to be one of Heliot Ramos or Liover Peguero. I also thought about Tommy Rogers, but again, we've had high expectations for him the second he was drafted. I felt like it had to be one of these two because these guys both barely made the roster and they were both very steady contributors. Peguero hit for higher average. He got on base less, though, because he can't draw a walk to save his life. Peguero had the higher slugging percentage. Ramos did hit more home runs, though, and Ramos also played better defense. Not to mention, Peguero's rating is 7 points higher, which is why I'm going to give Heliot Ramos the final spot. Ramos was pretty much the last guy to make the team out of spring training. He started the year on fire. He was pretty average after the month of May, but he still was productive enough, I feel like, to warrant the final nominee. His potential went down during the year. I don't really know why. He deserves to get it back up. So Heliot Ramos is the final stud of the year candidate, but now we've got to talk about the duds of the year, the guys who have not met expectations. There weren't many players who fit offensively because everybody was good. We only really had one great player, maybe two if you count Crawford, but there weren't many guys who were truly disappointing. I do want to throw Marco Luciano on the list, though, because it's been 3 years and we haven't really seen progression from him. Sure, his offensive numbers at the big leagues don't look that bad, but he was abysmal in AAA, and he was horrible defensively with a fielding percentage at barely 93. So as you'll notice here, it says team total, as in he got traded. Obviously, we never traded him away. But what happened was I was doing some experimenting. I must have accidentally kept the trade setting on auto. The game traded him to the Rockies. He ended up playing one game there, and he homered twice. Maybe he needs to stay with the Rockies full time. But nonetheless, his offensive stats were very average at the major league level. His defense was god-awful. And in the minor leagues, again, he barely hit 200. His development has not been good, which is why he is the first candidate. The second dud of the year candidate is going to be Ariel Rodriguez. Given what he is being paid, he underperformed this year. If you compare his numbers to the first 2 seasons in Toronto, not great. He allowed the same amount of runs this year that he did in each of the last 2 seasons. And if you factor in the fact that we traded away Thairo Estrada to get him, the Thairo Estrada trade looks like a major whiff on our part because I feel like he's the type of player that our team is missing. We traded him for 2 bullpen arms with Rodriguez and Cabrera, who have both been very average. For the final spot, I thought about both Michael Kopech and James Karinchak because they were both pretty bad after we acquired them during the trade deadline, but Kopech was a little bit worse. His ERA was, I think, in the 2s when we got him. His whip was really low, and he just was not good at all, especially considering his progression throughout the year. Let's now take a look at the minor leagues. And overall, I thought our system had a pretty good season. Many of our high potential prospects have made it up to the big league level, but we do have a lot of talented B potential guys developing in the pipeline. And of course, a lot of high-end pitching prospects. Warner Green and Rodney Bravo, draft picks of ours last year, both had good seasons in AA. Scott Rios, the #1 prospect in all of baseball, started in AA, moved up to AAA pretty early in the season, started slow up here in AAA Sacramento, but played really well over the final 3 months of the year. So our first stud of the year candidate will be infielder Cesar Prieto. We acquired him in Season 1 in a very small trade, and he's turned out to be a good addition for us. 282 average, 782 OPS, 3.7 WAR. That mark is tied for the highest WAR amongst any position player in all of AAA, not just our team, but AAA, period. He was one of the most valuable minor league players. Our second candidate is Eliezer Alfonso. We acquired him this year in the Max Kepler deal. He had over 300 in AA, OPS at 819, WAR at 2.7. Amongst catchers, that is tied for second, and you'll notice Vicente Alegre was in 4th as well. I thought about a couple pitchers for the 3rd spot, Sean Jelly, Carson Seymour, JJ Green, but ultimately, I think I'm going to go with Green here, given his overall volume. He didn't have a very good performance in the minor league postseason, but he threw 174 innings, high strikeout rate, low walk rate, 2.68 ERA, 1.26 whip, very high WAR. He led all of AA in innings. He was 2nd in strikeouts, and he was top 10 in pitching WAR. Let's now talk about our duds of the year, but first, I do want to highlight Scott Rios' season in full. Obviously, he's not a dud of the year because he was pretty good, but I figured we have to talk about him. 27 games in AAA, started 25, and had 17 quality starts, the highest mark on the team. Even though his numbers weren't as good as some of the other pitchers, he might have been the most consistent one there. So for our dud of the year candidates, we will start with Rainer Arias, who received a +12 in contacts versus lefty this year. He was one of our top prospects coming into this series, and we haven't seen development from him at all. Negative 1.8 WAR is really bad. He played horrible defense. He did not hit for contact. He did not hit for power. He did draw a lot of walks, but that's the only positive from his season. Thomas Gavello in AAA is up next. His hitting numbers were also not good. His WAR was also not good. The expectation with him is a little bit lower than it is with Arias, but he's also a little bit better. Our third spot is going to go to Luinder Avila. He did have a good postseason performance, and he did play better throughout the year, but he had some early starts in the year where he was just terrible. Over his first 3 starts, I think he threw a total of maybe 4 innings, if that, and he let up like 14 runs in that span. Again, he's gotten better throughout the year, but considering the minor leagues in this game kind of deflates hitting and inflates pitching, an ERA in the high 4s is not where you want to be if you're a minor leaguer. So that's going to wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to vote for the studs and duds of the year down below in the comments. Next episode, we will start the postseason. Games 1 and 2 with the NLDS against either the Phillies or the Cubs. Find out who it's going to be in the next episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.